It is an incredible pleasure, joy, and honor to have this last event devoted to a project of such an importance that our guest speaker is going to introduce you in just a second. So our guest speaker is Štěpán Černoušek, who comes from Prague, from the Czech Republic, who's been on a Fulbright 1 year fellowship in the U.S.
5 months.
5 months, sorry. Yeah, and he has just arrived in New York from DC, from the West Coast, where he spent most of the time before relocating to the East Coast here. So we are the first venue to present his remarkable project Gulag Online and the film we will see, and this tremendous social movement almost that it stands for. We also have a surprise guest today, Sergei Parkhomenko, whom most of you probably know, who really needs no introduction, who is a remarkable journalist of mainly Echo Moskvy. That's his main affiliation, but he's working for the past 2 years. He's been at the Kino Institute in Washington, D.C. And Sergei has kindly agreed to join us to participate in the discussion after the film and after the project presentation. The event is co-hosted, as you could see on the announcement, by International Coalition of Sites of Conscience, an organization that hosts Štěpán on his Fulbright scholarship, but also that is based in New York City and that is devoted to something that its title speaks to, I think, itself. So we have a number of representatives of the coalition today with us, and before we give the floor to Štěpán, let me introduce Linda Norris, who is the Global Networks Program Director. I'm reading it from Linda's business card, who will also, I hope, say a few words about this organization that we are very honored to be partnering with today. Thank you so much again for coming.
Thanks, it's great to be here, and thanks to Hunter for allowing us to co-sponsor, and to Štěpán, who during his talk, just as he's arrived after what appears to be the longest train ride ever through the United States. He went everywhere. But I just wanted to say a couple words about the Coalition of Sites of Conscience. Štěpán's Gulag.cz is a member. We are now about 270 organizations in 67 countries around the world. So we are in lots of places. And the things that unite our members are a couple different things. One, a commitment to place. Sometimes that commitment to place is really a specific place. The Statue of Liberty in Ellis Island here in New York are coalition members. Sometimes it's commitment to a place or places that aren't really reachable. The Gulag sites, but also our members who are working outside of Syria and Yemen, but concerned about sites there. We also believe that dialogue is the way to think about all of these sites, because our main idea always is to think about how to turn memory into action. So just remembering a place is never enough. It's the idea, whether it's the Tulsa Genocide Museum, whether it's an Argentinian prison, whether it's the Lorraine Motel where Martin Luther King was shot, the idea that we as citizens of the world have something to learn for the future, that we can create a more just future for everyone by understanding the past. So I'm really pleased Štěpán is here. I brought bookmarks for everyone if you want to learn a little more about what we do and take them and pass back. And I'm happy afterwards to answer any questions anyone might have about the coalition. But I'm particularly pleased to have Štěpán join us. He and I started talking about a Fulbright for him a while ago, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago probably at this point. So it's so exciting he got to do it. He has already visited many of our sites in the U.S. and still has some more to come. And that's also part of what the coalition does, is bring our members together around issues of common interest. So I'm super excited to hear his presentation. I'm going to let him get started.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Linda. Thank you very much, Yasha. Thank you to Coalition of Sites of Conscience for support and hosting me at the Fulbright scholarship in the United States. Thank you to Hunter College for inviting me to screen our very new movie. I will speak a little about our project, about topic which are focused on, and then you will watch the movie, which is very new. It's we finished the movie just during my Fulbright scholarship here in the United States. The English subtitles are just 1 month old, so it's very new. It's a New York premiere. It will be a New York premiere, so we are very lucky. And after the movie, we will discuss more the topic of Gulag and today's Russia, relations to the Soviet past and Soviet repressive past, and I hope that Sergei Parkhomenko will join me to answer some questions. And for me, it's I have never expected that the result of my trips to Russia, to Siberia, to very remote parts, that the result of this trip would be a 5-month long trip to the United States. It's very still surprising for me, but I'm really happy about it because until now I have visited around 30 American museums and sites and institutions which somehow deal with the sensitive chapters of history, mainly American, because of course I'm in the United States, and it's really interesting for me to learn how what are the approaches of American museum and sites to these topics, and how these museums use new technologies, because we in our team of the Gulag.cz we focus mainly on virtual reality or augmented reality, online museum, because we don't have a site, we don't have a Gulag in the Czech Republic, but we visit sites in Siberia, we map it, then we the results publish on the internet, and we have been developing new experience in virtual reality and augmented reality, which I would like to show you in the very end of today's presentation, maybe after the discussion. So I was, maybe you are interested where I was in California, in the United States. I visited 2 former concentration camps for American and Japanese during the World War II, in Manzanar and Lake, which is north of California. And I was also in Alcatraz and in Angel Island in San Francisco, and Museum of Tolerance in Los Angeles, and also in Joshua Tree National Park, which is a beautiful natural park, but there is a lot of abandoned mines and farms which are preserved for visitors, and this is what interested me, because we also visit a lot of abandoned Gulag camps in Siberia, and so I was curious about the way how they preserve it here in the United States, places like that. So then we moved to, because I traveled with my family, we moved to by train from Los Angeles to New Orleans. It took 2 days, 48 hours, and it was a great experience. But I have to say that Russian trains are a little bit more comfortable. Because a lot of people use it in Russia, and it's almost nobody uses it in the United States. Only very strange people and but it was okay. It was really nice. It was really nice. I liked it. And in New Orleans, and then in the other southern states, I visited many museums from former plantations. It was interesting to compare the approach of private museums and the museums which are members of this coalition of sites of conscience, which focus more on the slavery and the hard life. That time, the private are more focused on nice gardens around and so on. So this was also very interesting. And also I visited very new museum in Montgomery, Alabama, Legacy Museum, which was opened last year in April. And it's about race terror. I think I did it called like that.
Yeah.
Terror.
Yeah.
And there's a memorial of victims of lynching in Montgomery, which was inspired by Holocaust memorials, for example, in Berlin. And it's really impressive to see places like this in Montgomery, in Alabama. And I recommend you, everybody, to visit these sites. So sometimes I feel really like over-experienced from all these visits and from the United States. And also during my trip to the United States, I started to develop somehow my idea about a moving exhibition about gulags and Soviet repressions and using both physical objects and virtual reality, augmented reality. That's what we do. And in the movie, by the way, you will see how we gathered all the data necessary for the virtual and augmented realities. And why maybe you could be confused or interested why Czechs are planning to make to have an exhibition in the United States about Russian past. But the answer is very easy because that period of Soviet terror and Soviet repressive past, especially during the Stalin era, but not only, about the gulags, it was not only a story of Russians or of Soviet citizens. It concerned also a lot of people from all over the world. There were around 20,000 Czechs or Czechoslovak citizens who were like victims of Soviet repressions. They went through the gulags, or they were executed, or deported to other places in Soviet Union. There are a lot of thousands of people from other countries, from Poland, France, Netherlands, and even from the United States. Do you know about the story of Americans in the Gulag? I was surprised that almost nobody knows it about in the United States. And this is a book of British journalist Tim Soliadis, The Forsaken, and it is about Americans who were repressed in Soviet Union in 1930s, and they were mostly normal workers who lost their jobs during Big Depression in the beginning of 1930s. And they decided to emigrate from the United States to Soviet Union because at that time there was a huge Soviet propaganda about great life in Soviet Union. So thousands of Americans decided to move to Soviet Union. There were a couple of baseball teams in Moscow at that time for Americans. But in the end of 30s, during so-called Great Terror, almost all of them were arrested as spies, and many of them were executed, and many of them were sent to the gulags, and only a few of them survived. So that's why I find this topic very international. Not international. It was like human tragedy, not only Russian wars. So that's why I focus on this topic, and I started to be interested in the topic many years ago. It has been a long process. I started to travel to Russia in 1994 when I was 16, and step by step I visited very remote parts of Siberia and far north, and these places are very often connected with its history of Gulag, and the towns there were built by Gulag prisoners very often, and I started to read some memoirs about it, to visit museums at these places, and I was surprised how confused is the telling of the history. For example, in one small city of Turkhans in Siberia, there's a small museum, and in one room there is an exhibition about the gulags in that area, and in the second room there is an exhibition which celebrates Yakov Sverdlov, who was sent by Tsar to that place, and who was one of the responsible person of the repressions. But they celebrated in the museum both the responsible person and also the victims of the Gulag. And it's very, unfortunately, often this approach to history, and there is no one museum built from abandoned or former Gulag camps. However, do you have idea how many Gulag camps were in the Soviet Union? Approximately around, according to data of Memorial Society, Independent Russian Memorial Society, there were around 30,000 Gulag camps from 1920s till 1960s. And around 20 million people went through the Gulags. More than half of them were political prisoners, and almost 2 million of them did not survive. So sorry, I forgot what I wanted to say. Yeah, that's about what. And there are still hundreds of remains of these camps, and only in one of them was established a museum. It is in the city of Perm. The museum is called Perm 36, and but the management or people who founded this museum were expelled by local authorities a few years ago, and the great exhibition about the Gulag and about the Soviet dissidents who were arrested in this camp in 1970s, 80s. The exhibition was replaced of another one which celebrates Gulag guards. So that's like today's approach of local authorities to this topic. But not only, there's in Moscow there's a quite good museum of the Gulag, and there's still a lot of independent historians and organizations as Memorial who focus on the topic, and they do very good job, without which we wouldn't be able to organize our expeditions, but they are very often under big pressure, but maybe we'll speak more about it after the movie. So the result of my trips to Siberia were expeditions to abandoned Gulag camps, and the movie, very new movie, is about the third expedition from four, which took place in 2013, but we finished the movie only now, and it's about, you will see what it's about. So a journey to the Gulag, the movie, it will last 30 minutes. And interest. So do you have any questions?
Well, should we start the discussion at this table and open it to...
Yeah, I would like to invite Sergei Parkhomenko, who is an author of a commemorate project called The Last Address, which is similar to the project of Stolpersteins. Maybe you know the project Stolpersteins, but from the maybe Sergei you can tell more about the project.
We started Last Address project 6 years ago. It's almost the same idea, same principle as this famous Stolpersteins project was done in more or less 15 European countries, now started by German activists and artists in 1993. It was Günther Demnig near Berlin. It's a small, like plates like this, put it on the stones on the pavement of European cities, and now Demnig and his team put 50,000 or maybe even 60,000 of these stones in 700 European cities, and each stone is a place where lived one of victim of Nazi era. It may be Jews or Slavic people or homosexual or some religious minority like Jehovah's Witnesses or something like this. So we started 6 years ago, almost the same project, but to commemorate victims of political repressions in Soviet Union. And we put some also metal plates like this, like postcards, 11 to 19 centimeters. But just the small, just few words, the name of the person, the profession, born this date, arrested date, executed date, and rehabilitated date. And this plate is put on the building where these people live. It was the last physical address of these people. So we made now 900 plates in 47 Russian cities, and also some plate in some cities in Ukraine, in Czech Republic, and Štěpán Černoušek was the origin of this Czech project of Последняя Adresa, and also in Moldova and Georgia now, and we start this year also in Germany, in Romania, in Kazakhstan, and maybe also in France, because some people was stolen by Soviet KGB in Paris and some French cities also. So we have some activists in France who wants to organize the same project in France. So it's almost same, because you know we have now in many countries some different project who it's a project of memory of political victims. And the physical execution is different, but the idea is same. It's an idea to have an exact place of the repression. We have these projects in Argentina or in South Africa, in Cambodia, in many ex-Yugoslavian countries, and all these countries of Stolperstein and all these countries of Slidniadis. So it's every time the same idea to put the memory in the exact geographical place, to have a exact geoposition of crime, of repression, and of human life, because it's always the same idea to make some kind of zoom of the historical of the big history, because normally we discuss the history as something statistical, as something geopolitical, as huge numbers, as in terms of superpowers who fight each other, in terms of industrialization, in terms of Second World War, in terms of competition of different political systems. But our idea of all these projects, and this project also, is to see attentively one single person, one single life, one single name, one single destiny, one single fate, one single eyes. So it changed everything. It changed everything in this discussion. If you start to discuss this not in terms of history, of big history and big fighting of big power, but in terms of one single human life. And if you have exact address, if you have exact home or exact place on the pavement or exact building where this person lived, it's easier to speak about this person, about this exact name and this exact life. And another very important thing in this kind of project, like Stolperstein or Paslitniadis, is the idea of have one single person behind every single sign. So Paslitniadis and Stolperstein never do some list of addresses or persons. We need somebody who asks us to make this sign. Some person who write to our project, I want to put this plate in this address with this name. And I'm okay to pay some amount of money. It's not so much. For Stolperstein, it's more or less €100, and in Russia it's 400 rubles. That's maybe a little bit more than $50. It's important because this person have a right to see this small, this micro monument as his own monument, as something made by this person and paid by this person. Just this small sign with some words. And we have this community of people who ask our project to do this commemoration art. And we have another community of people living in all these buildings, because we need a permission. We need these people to accept this ceremony, and we can put display only with the permission of people live now in this building or own this building. And then maybe the most interesting, it's a discussion between our volunteers who come to this building to explain to people what is the idea and why we need to put this display in this exact building. So discussion between these people and people inhabited this address. It's the most important thing. It's the most significant thing, because the final goal of this kind of project is not to put thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands same plates in every addresses, but to put together, to create a community of people who speaks about, who thinks about, who want to discuss it, and who want to commemorate it. It's a very important for Russia now and for all other Soviet countries, including Ukraine or Moldova or Georgia, so on. So we work not with addresses. We work not with stainless steel. We work with persons. We work with our people, just like the work of Stefan with this interactive maps and interactive project of all these camps.
I have a question. What's the reaction of the people in the community with whom you speak about?
Different reaction, very different reaction. Normally, we have this permission. Maybe in maybe one building for 10 refuse this, but normally we have this permission because it's very interesting. Because it's clear we have these two bubbles: the bubble of Stalinists and another bubble of anti-Stalinists in Russia. And it's very difficult to make people to move from one bubble to another one. It's almost impossible if you discuss history, if you discuss Second World War, industrialization, economy, superpowers, a role of Stalin, a role of Communist Party. It's absolutely impossible to make people move from one bubble to another one. But it's absolutely possible if you speak about this life, this name, this fate, this person. And it's often these people don't want this kind of plates before we start to speak about this person. And our activists, our volunteers tell, yeah, okay, Stalin is okay, Stalinism is okay, communism is okay, but what about this person? But what about this Natalia Ivanovna? What about this Mikhail? just this person, not a Stalin and Stalinist, but just this person you see with this is the image of this person. This is the name. This is the profession. This is all the story of his life. What about this? Not what about Stalin, but what about this person? It works perfectly, and people understand very easier what is Stalinism and what is repression and what is all this tragedy of Russian catastrophe. It's more or less same. It's also about 6 million people touched by repressions, with 800,000 of executed, and maybe twice of this died in camps, in these camps in Siberia, and it's very easy to explain to people this big historical idea if you start by name and by people of a single person.
Can I thank you so much? And these two projects are really, if you just think of them spatially, in a sense, последний адрес is the last address of a person who would end up in one of those places that you just saw in Štěpán's films. But also they're very, obviously they have so much in common, but they're very different in terms of how they carry out the task of preserving memory, historical memory. The last address is a small plate attached to the wall of this building, and this is something very unique, I think, what Štěpán you do, because maybe you could say a few more words actually about what the Gulag Online project is about and how this task of preserving memory is delivered to contemporary public audience, which is all virtual, and how many people will have seen this film compared to how many people will have seen the website. So my question is about the realization of ultimately the same task. And of course, maybe you could also say what you think about a number of other projects, such as the Topography of Terror, Topografia Terrora, a project created by the Memorial Society, I think mainly, which is again grounded only within the city of Moscow, but it's a fascinating historical digital method of memorializing the sites, but again, only within the city, and we don't know. Perhaps through your project only do we know what happens to those same people, persons after.
Yeah, in current Russia, there's a lot of very interesting projects which somehow commemorate the memory of history of repressions. And you mentioned a couple of them from Memorial Society as Topography of Terror or another projects which are focused on specific places, as Sandarmoch place which is the grave of many thousands of victims of Great Terror and the others. And I don't want to say or to show that our project is only one which document like the footprints of the gulags or the repressions. No, there's a lot of very brave people in Russia who are under pressure of authorities, I would say, but they do a great thing. And there's also a good Gulag Museum in Moscow, which is state and which is supported by Moscow authorities, and they have also very good as an interactive map of the gulags and so on. And it's interesting the fight between official authorities and independent organizations in Russia about the about the history, about the control of the history, I would say, because the official authorities don't say that there were no gulags or no victims. They agree with that, but they would like to soften it a little bit. And that's another topic of that. And what we do, it's a result of a very long process, and the first 2 expeditions to abandoned camps took place. I organized took place in 2009 and 2011, and that were more like adventure trips to Siberia, because I like to travel to very remote parts, to the Czech Republic is a very small country without any wild nature, and I like to Siberia. So, and only after the 2 expeditions, when I wrote some articles to Czech newspapers or journals about it, then I was surprised how many people were interested in the topic. I only after a few years I realized that it would be nice to go back to the places and to measure it in more detailed way, and to put it on the internet, to use some new technologies, because nobody does it today. So only after 4 or 5 years after the first expedition, I realized to do it like this. And it has been a process. After this expedition in 2013, I was focused more on to gather money to make the first version of online museum. We got the money from a crowdfunding campaign in the Czech Republic, and because it's quite expensive to finance all IT specialists and 3D designers who are able to do the models from photographs which we will make during the expedition, and the result, which is accessible at the Gulag Online website. And I can show you some short video clips which will show you how it looks like. These are like short videos which it looks like if you're searching the website. Just illustrating. And we have a map on the website, interactive map, where are places of Gulag administrations. There were almost 500 Gulag administrations in the whole Soviet Union, and there are also places connected with our expedition. But the expeditions, we organized just 4 expeditions, 3 to the so-called Dead Road, the railway which was built by Gulag prisoners 1947 till 1953, and the northern Siberia, and then to the eastern Siberia. There was an expedition to so-called Marble Grove, where Gulag prisoners mined uranium for the first Soviet atomic bombs in the beginning of 1950s. And there's a lot of remains of built barracks and the mines, and we also made a lot of panoramic pictures and other 3D models via photogrammetry technology. But these are just 4 expeditions, which is very small. There were like 30,000 camps in Soviet Union, and we met just 20 of them. So this is not the view of all Gulag system, just the view of very small and a specific place and specific picture of barracks. But anyway, there's no other project like this, and so we decided to do it, at least this. And we also put on the internet some testimonies of people who went through the gulags. There are people from the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Poland, and Hungary at this moment. I would like to enlarge it to put there people from other European countries, and so everything is very together interactive and. But anyway, I would like to build another version like Gulag Online 2.0, and I would like to find sources for that. And so for the moving exhibition, it's a big challenge at this moment. The biggest one, maybe more. It's much harder than to organize expeditions to Siberia.
Online is more difficult than Siberia.
Something I wonder, I don't know about the gulags, were ordinary political prisoners mixed with criminals?
It depended, but mostly yes. Mostly there were. I was asking some historians from Memorial how many prisoners were criminals and how many were like political. They say more than half were political, but it's hard to count it because many of people were sent to the gulags as criminals, but they just stole bread or whatever during their hunger. So I think they are more victims of political repressions than like real criminals. So it's really hard to say exact number of
Were they mixed in the camps?
and they were mixed, and it was the most horrible thing for the political prisoners because they were terrorized by criminals.
If I may add, just the so-called special enforced regime political camps, there were such too, were considered much easier, despite the title special and enforced and higher top security facilities, precisely because there were no criminals. Yeah, thanks.
First upon this question, which I'm still formulating. The ending of the documentary is very interesting. You show like this virtual map, and for me, it touches on a very interesting concept of touching, and sort of like the limits of our touching within these camps, even though they're preserved in some sense in the wild, scattered throughout, but there's sort of the bitterness going into these places or the inaccessibility to it, even though, and like how you said, and how Yasha said, Perm is like the only place that there was an museum once, those are only real. But then there was political support, so it was, political objection to it, I guess. So the museum was kind of changed in a certain format. But, so there's this pressure from the government to interact with something that's still omnipresent throughout society. What do you feel, if you're going to continue to do these virtual projects that I find super fascinating, what sort of tangible quality does this give to a certain part of history that is kind of taboo still?
So like that. Let's like whatever.
So you ended with the end of the documentary with this virtual mapping.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of touches on this idea of touching or inability to touch or interact. Yeah, the sort of tactile quality of actually going to these places. And there's not necessarily a bitterness to this, but there is a sort of political play here where these museums can't be erected for a variety of reasons. They could, but whatever powers would be. I'm curious as to what sort of tangible physical quality these virtual maps, these virtual replicas you make of these places, what sort of agency it has, what sort of powers it gives to sort of these actual places that are well preserved and that people aren't able to go to or not able to go to.
You mean how to work with the results, how to develop?
Just your opinions on this idea of this sort of like virtual quality of documentation and the importance of it when trying to construct a history, create a portrait of these areas, these places, etc.
So I think because you also mentioned the Perm 36 context, I think you're aiming at this realization of this expression, neutral, but do not touch.
Partially, yeah.
Yeah, keep your hands off history, which is still very often taboo, as in the story with Perm 36. And what your project does at the end, as Alex was pointing out, it, precisely what it does is it touches it. Right?
Like the story? Or?
Well, you literally remap the whole place. It's like you go to installations in museums that recreate whatever to make you feel like you're immersed in the place. But this is a very specific immersion that is almost, that's very taboo in some sense. That's why it's very interesting to me. And I was just hoping to talk more about this sort of process. It's literally.
So can I also share a different mapping project that the coalition is doing, which might.
Yeah, you can
kind of-
go ahead.
Yeah. So the coalition, our members in the Middle East and North Africa are working jointly on a project to map sites of human rights abuses in the Middle East region. And what's interesting is, not as three-dimensional at all, and not as deep as Stepan's work in some way, but the feeling among our members in the region is that the oppression, the resistance to telling the story is not gonna be there forever. And part of what mapping does, right, I think part of what your work does, is ensure that 25 years from now, or whenever, right, when things change, that the record is here. I mean, I think a lot of these mapping projects are making, the tactile part is actually really future oriented, if that makes sense.
You know, it has that time machine quality to it, which is very interesting.
Yeah, and so.
For me, that's what's most interesting about it, is that the places are still preserved and they could be preserved much more.
But they're not, I mean, in the film, right, when it says the taiga is taking them back, that's also true of the deserts in Morocco or wherever we are, right? These places will not be preserved.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of places, a lot of barracks we documented 6 years ago during that expedition are destroyed today.
Yeah, they said it was one was burned. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
I would like to ask, you showed in the movie, it's a question to Stefan, you showed in the movie interactions with the locals, like the monks helped you, get you out and so on. Did they have an idea of what you were doing, what your project, or what was the attitude? Did they express any attitude towards the endeavor, or they just didn't know what you were doing?
Like, another strange, crazy tourist who are interested in these very not interesting places. Because people who live there, for sure they know about the camps abandoned in the area. However, they don't visit them very often because it's very far from the villages. But they know about the remains of the railroad, about the remains of the gulags. Some local hunters visit the gulags or fishers, the camps. But they don't understand the historical value very often, and they use barracks for construction of new buildings, for example, or for new shelters for them, or even they use the letters or the paper documents for making a fire. So, but on the other hand, there are people in local museums who understand how important it is to preserve these places, but they don't have sources to organize special expeditions there to preserve the things, and they are not able to teach other people about the historical value of those places. Are not so interested so much. So the locals were okay, and we paid them money for the helicopter.
From indifference to like, but not objecting to that.
No, they just told someone of them told us why are you interested in the camps? They are like devils in nights. Don't go there. So.
Uh-huh. The reason I'm asking is because my daughter is involved in the project, also dealing with memory, going exactly to where you're going, like through France. She just came back and going again. But that has to do with the memory of indigenous people that basically were mostly extinct through collectivization, since they could not, breed deer and stuff like that, and there's no agriculture there. And she said that while they were there last time, they were like minded everywhere they went as foreigners.
And she's Russian.
Well, she's Russian, she speaks Russian, but she hasn't grown up there and they look foreign. And so there was nothing like this, like people, like authorities being interested in you or, no?
Yeah.
Not objecting that
Yeah.
you're going. Interesting.
Well, it's 6 years ago, so maybe today would be.
Might be.
Please.
Well, I have two questions actually. So one is towards you, Stefan, about do you know what the state of the gulags are in like northeastern Siberia? I only ask because I've heard of like the Kolyma Highway that's nicknamed like the Road of Bones because of all the people died building some of the road and infrastructure. So I was just curious as to, like how much of some of those remnants have survived, how much of the equipment and whatnot has survived in that area.
You mean the railroad or in general?
In general.
How many remains there still there are in Russian?
In towards the northeastern Siberia. I'm just kind of curious.
I don't know. There's no, as I know, there is no project which would count it, which would be focused on this, and it's something really interesting. These footprints of the repressions in all these remote areas, and so I don't know. In my estimation, there are like hundreds of abandoned camps which would be still in good to visit and to map it and document it. But these camps are in very remote parts, very far from the nearest settlements, and all these possible expeditions would be very expensive to reach the places. So there are these remains of the camps. Maybe there are still some items, as in one of the camps which we documented, but these are like as I said, hundreds of them. And of course, there are remains and footprints of the Gulag, like you mentioned, the Kolyma Highway, which is a highway connected Yakutsk and Magadan, 2,000 kilometers long. It was built by prisoners, and you can find some abandoned camps along the highway. But I don't know how many camps are there. I would like to go to Kolyma to organize another expedition to focus more on that.
Most of this subject was never counted and never registered in Russia. And from time to time, we have some absolutely extraordinary reportage about this. For example, 1.5 or 2 years ago, the journalist from Irkutsk found that the whole system of canals between Orb and Yenisei. It was another crazy project of Stalin's era, not a railroad, but a canal between two great Siberian rivers, never finished, but still alive now. Absolutely disappeared, absolutely stolen, lost it by historians and by everybody, and it was found like new 2 years ago. It's absolutely pharaonic project with old canals on the taiga. So I think it's absolutely impossible to count this small Lagpunkt, so points of Gulag in Russia's map.
Yeah, and then that kind of brings me up to the second question, which is when making those metal placards to put into buildings, how difficult was it to get some of that information, those specific details about those people? Was that provided by the person who requested it?
No, it's provided by memorial. we have a chance in Russia. We have a group of people, NGO Memorial, who works for 35 years now on the Stalin repressions. And Memorial have a huge archive of more or less 4 million people, 4 million different people repressed by Soviet power. And what is maybe the most important thing, the people of Memorial have absolutely perfect skills to find to work on Soviet archives in Russia and in other Soviet countries. It's a big difference now because, for example, in Russia, the archives of KGB, most of documents concerning these repressions are now in the KGB, FSB archives. It's a inheritor of KGB, and it's more and more difficult to work in these archives. But in Ukraine or in Georgia, we have also the huge archives and almost same, because if, for example, some decision was made in Moscow, the same papers, the same documents goes to different Soviet republics. So if you don't find something in Moscow, you can try to search for same in Kiev, and maybe it will be much easier. So we have plenty of information, and it's very important. We have a website of our project, and so we put more or less 900 plates, and we made 900 personal stories, and we can find on our website 900 different texts about this person. For every single person whose name is on this place, we have a specific text made by our volunteers with all this biography, and often the photos, family images, or excerpts of archive dossier. So we have very interesting information about these people, and this is also an important part of this project, because maybe one day we will wake up in the morning and we'll see all 900 plates destroyed by state. It's quite possible. It's absolutely not excluded. But this text and this website will exist, and so this story will continue.
To follow that up, can I ask, of the people who refuse the plaques, what proportion claim that no such person ever existed or lived there?
No, understand. I'm sorry.
Из тех, кто отказались согласиться установить табличку, сколько заявляло о том, что такого человека не было?
Never. The people who refuse this permission don't have any doubt to Stalin's repression or something. It's just no. I don't want this It's because it's even not so political. These arguments to refuse this. It's normally something very stupid, like it's so sad. It's so sad for my children. My children will see this every single day. It's so sad. You have to go on the cemetery. Not on this place. Not in my house. Goes to cemetery. And we explained, but that the most of these people don't have any cemetery, any burial, any nothing, just disappear. And this small plate of measured as postcard, it's just one place on the world where this name is engraved. Just this possibility, not on the cemetery, but from time to time we have this answer. Not in my house. It's so sad. Yes, it's sad.
In your archive, do you include the Baltic nations? Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania?
Yeah, sure.
You do?
Sure, and we have some activists now in Latvia and in Estonia. I don't know why, but not in Lithuania. Nobody asked us about this project. But I think one day we will start also in Estonia with this project, because we have some people who want to work here.
In the 900 that you've made, is there a Jewish percentage included?
I don't know. I never count Jewish percentage. It's important percentage, but I don't never interested in
I'm just wondering if people who refuse because somebody.
No.
No.
No, it's not. This anti-Semitic motivation is not so important in this thing. No.
Thank you.
Can I just say one
Yeah,
thing?
sure.
I thought the film was beautiful. I thought the cinematography was incredible. In fact, that was one of the most moving parts of it to me. And also the photographs and the written material, about the victims. I thought it was just amazing. Thank you both so much.
Thank
you.
Will the film be available online for people that want to see it?
I hope one day it will be online, but it's very new. As I told you, it was never screened in the Czech Republic yet, and I would like to organize some kind of premiere in the Czech Republic after I'm back in summer, maybe in September. And I'm also going to offer the movie to some festivals or TV channels. Maybe some channels will be interested. So if you have any idea how to offer it to American TV channels, don't hesitate to tell them to me. I would like to spread it somehow in these to TVs or other possibilities.
Let's thank our guests once again.
If you are, someone of you is interested, I can show you some augmented reality, how does it work here at this table, some results of our
So we can come in.
Anything else?
Послушай,